Hello, everybody. You're listening and watching to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. And of course, we're coming at you with more Andor. Andor, however you want to say it. I personally like the Skarsgård way of saying it, just Andor, because it just has a ring to it, even though it's Cassian Andor, but it doesn't matter, to your preference. We're 5 episodes in now, so of course, guys, we are doing spoilers always. So before you guys, if you haven't seen it, come back later after you've watched it so you can dive deep into the spoilers with us. And also, don't forget to give us a like, ring the bell just to stay up to date, and subscribe. So that way you're just all in on the ranting action. But what do you say, Bern? Shall we get started with some spoilers?
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
Beautiful. So again, the last couple episodes, since episode 3, it hasn't been super action-packed or anything, and that's kind of the trend, I feel like, with like Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, which, just because those are the other 2 shows in my mind right now. But I will say, this has been some of the best dialogue I think I've heard in any show in a long time, where I was just like mesmerized by their interactions together. Especially, oh my god, I forgot the actor's name, but he was Micro, and he's in Bear. What's that character's name and the actor?
The character's Skeen. The actor, I forget his name. I can pull it up here in a second, but yeah, from him especially, like there's a lot of good quotes that are coming out from his character especially.
Yeah, I just love the whole line of, the axe forgets, but, the tree remembers. And, throughout this episode, we're kind of learning more about... Rogue One was a pretty dark side of the rebellion, but this was almost like extremist version. Like Saw... They reminded me a lot of Saw Gerrera, and, like, their very personal, reasons for the going against the Empire,
Like in not their extremist actions, but they have
their views.
They have very their own personal reasons to why they want to take down the Empire. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to hint at. It just kind of thought like how deep, like how he was talking to that one kid. God damn it, I couldn't remember the guy Nemec. How he's talking to Nemec, and he's almost like a conspiracy theorist with like, oh, these ideas are enslaving us, all this, that. And I like how Skeen was kind of jabbing at him a little bit, almost like a brotherly love there. But it was just that scene and stuff that was like, damn, this is like, we're getting some real personal territory with this this group of the rebellion.
Yeah, it goes to show in a lot of the ways that Nemec was talking about it, how this oppression of the Empire, how sort of deeply rooted it is, how sort of your culture and your identity gets stripped away, and after a while you forget what freedom even looks like, after your generations of oppression. It hasn't been that long, at least for the characters in this show, but he's like basically saying, like, once it gets to that point, then that's all is subjugation, so again, for someone who's a character in the rebellion, that's a very poignant perspective to have. And him, like, it being hinted that he has a manifesto of rebellion and freedom, and presumably I'm curious to see if it actually does happen, the manifesto that sort of all these different rebel factions sort of unite under. That will be interesting to see if that sort of goes anywhere, because they did make mention of it. I don't know if it's like planting a seed for something in the future, or if it's just one of those throwaway things where it just sort of reinforces who he is as a character, how he is as Reek said. Reek, oh, damn it, I forgot his name. Screen, yeah. How he says, Nemec is a true believer, like he believes in the cause of the rebellion. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere in particular.
Yeah, it's just a lot more, I think, build up in tension than the last episode, because I guess we're getting closer to their job, essentially, like the mission. So I just really love those pieces, and then them planning it. It's almost like, again, because how they're trying to, like, Andor's trying to figure out who could potentially be the one to backstab them. it is hard to tell. You don't know who it is, man, because it could just all be smoke and mirrors with Screen or Namek or anything like that. Like they could pretend to be these hardcore rebellions, like rebellious guys, but it's like in the end they could also just be very deceptive Imperial spies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, with the job that they're trying to pull off, which is infiltrating an empirical base to steal the payroll, it's like, if anyone is like a traitor or a loose end, or if anyone is a weak point in the group and in their plan, then it all goes to shit, and they all could end up dying. So I think what this episode did a really good job of was showing that in like all the characters, how everyone, this is the day before that they're going to try to pull this thing off, and tensions are running high because of how dangerous this mission is going to be. So everyone's a little bit on edge, and everyone's interactions in this episode sort of reflect that.
Yeah, I mean everybody's definitely. It's not even truly a team. Like they know each other and they kind of trust each other, but it's all about to break apart, especially when near the end of the episode that they're doing that long walk essentially to the first camp or something like that, and Screen finds the kyber crystal he has, like knowing it's expensive, like this is worth a lot. Who the hell is this guy? How can we trust him? Essentially hinting like, how do we know he's not an Imperial person that that has money and is just in here to backstab us? But I just love Diego Luna, man. He's just this is definitely like his Star Wars character. Like if I think of anyone Star Wars, he's one of them. I just like his lines, like I'm just in it for the money. That's it. Like there's nothing else, nothing more. So that's all you can expect of me. And I like his line of like, if you're scared, don't use me an excuse, just go. And you can kind of get the vibe. It's like, shit, I felt like with Screen, it was like that was his kind of his ticket out, but it's like, nah. I'm glad that they all kind of stay together. But since this is a spy show and this is a big job, especially like a robbery, essentially, it's like any one of them can crack, especially on the job. So it's definitely building up to be a very crazy episode. At least I hope.
Yeah, I mean, with this, with the way that they're structuring these episodes, in sort of like a every 3 episodes it's its own arc. It seems like next episode is bound to be the payoff to the storyline that we've gotten in this week and last week's episode, where we're introduced to this rebel group that's trying to pull off a heist. So it's like I like that they've been doing the legwork and it making us care about these characters and being invested in their storyline. So when we do get to next week's episode, that tension will be even higher. Now we're endeared to them. At least we understand them as characters, and we've spent some time with them now. When they're in the mission, it's going to be a little bit more like man, like you want to pull for these people to succeed because you see why they're in it, from the beginning. Like why they're even trying to pull this mission off is. And so, like, now that we have a better understanding of them, if they do succeed, we're happy about it. And if they unfortunately die or somehow fail in their mission, it's going to be that even more heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's, again, it can go either way. And it sucks we don't have, a steady vibe of where it can go. But that's also the best part about it. So, I really like that. But I also really enjoy the side stories, like Mon Mothma and her dysfunctional situation. I got the vibe that she's definitely the black sheep of that family, where she has a very disdain for the Empire, but it looks like her daughter and her husband are the ones who kind of support it, and that it sucks. But it's like I don't know if I was reading that right. I mean, what did you think, Bern?
I mean, I think for the husband, for sure. Like, last week when he was talking about, like, the dinner guests that he was going to have over, they were a lot of Mon Mothma's political rivals, and presumably, like, some of those, like, really, really, like, deep-cut empirical, like, figureheads of whatever government that they have running there. So it's like, yeah, he seems very much like, the Nazi sympathizer type, So it's like, yeah, like he's very much in that league. I think the daughter, I really don't know. Like, she sort of, at least now, it just seems like she's sort of like that angsty teenager that kind of like doesn't want anything to do with her mom for various reasons or another, presumably because she's absent from the family, going off and doing like political things and rebellion things on the side. So it seems like she's sort of like, like I don't want to be like around all this like political stuff. Like she seems like she could have like little to no interest for that. But I don't know. I guess it's still yet to be seen. So far, I only got like bratty teenager vibes from her, less so than than like Nazi sympathizer vibes.
Well, I mean, with their little interaction at the dinner table, it sounds like the husband is definitely like trying to pit the daughter against her. So, I mean, I could
I
definitely
did get that.
I get the vibe that that's another reason for Mon Mothma to hate the Empire, especially later in the movies where she's leading the rebellion, especially against the Battle of Endor. So, I really like that part. And Cyril Karn, man, that guy he is in his own dark hole right now. Back with his mom, and his mom basically saying, I don't think it was ever a great line of work for you. We should hit up your uncle. Maybe he can find something for you. It's just, even though he's the bad guy, I still do feel bad for him a little bit because it's like he just feels like a failure. It's a very relatable feeling. I feel like, oh my, no pun intended, but. Just that ending shot of him staring at Andor's like hologram is like almost kind of chilling. Like this guy definitely has a vendetta, and it's just I don't know how he's gonna go about it.
Yeah, it seemed like after the whole thing that went down on Ferrex, and then now him being let go from his job and moving back in with his mom, he's sort of like even more like has like a more deep hatred for Andor. Putting him in the situation that he's currently in and that he looks like he hates, which is being back with his disapproving like and just like horrible mother. Like she seems like the one that like he's always I mean you get from their conversations that he's been trying to win her approval his whole life and nothing ever seems good enough for her, and just the way that she talks about him and the way presumably that conversation went with the uncle over the phone. It's like, again, the show's continues to do a great job of giving us dialogue that also gives us backstory to these characters without outright doing it. Like we don't need to see a flashback of her being a terrible mom. We just get these really passive aggressive like jabs at each other, like over like a bowl of cereal. Like we know everything we need to know in their quick conversation that we see them in, and why he is the way he is. Like once we got her, I was like, okay, now I see why he's like this total like stuck up like douchebag. Like, yeah, because like that's sort of like what he's been made to be by his own mom. So it's like, again, like you do feel sorry for the guy. Like you don't envy his position. Not that, again, that you want to root for him in any way, but that you just kind of feel sorry for the dude.
Yeah, it's almost like a wow, just no wonder you're such a fucked up person, because your mom just having such high expectations and you can never live up to them, and it's like just nothing is ever good enough. And again, it's creating a madman out of him essentially. So I'm really excited to see what happens with him. Hopefully he'll become a bigger thorn in Andor's side, just to kind of just add some tension to it and get some character growth out of this guy. But
do you think like they're sort of hinting at like his family, or like at least like his uncle has some deep ties with the Empire? Like what was the impression that you got that the uncle could have some sort of like big pull and giving him like a different career chance? Like what do you think the implications of that is? Like is he like, could he be like a mobster or something? Or like what were the vibes you were getting? Because I was getting some kind of like Godfather-ish vibes there.
If anything, he's probably either super deep in like the Empire, like maybe has a high position, like a admiral, or a Moff or something like that, like Moff Tarkin or Moff Gideon. So he could be higher up like that, or he is just a very wealthy, person who profit off the Empire, who has a lot of connections. It's a little unclear, but the fact that, I mean, I could see your mobster idea because he's so into law enforcement that he doesn't want to go that route. He didn't want to mention the uncle, especially with his little quip like, oh yeah, because he knows me so well. So I don't know. I hope we get to see a little bit of that, like more into that family, and see what is the trajectory for him. Is he going to be a big character, or is he just some guy who tries to go on a revenge path? I don't know. It can go either way, but I think this is definitely one of the better endings too, with just Luthen keep checking his little comm link or something. And I don't know who his assistant was. I don't know if she has a name for it in the show yet, but I like their little exchange too. Just, it's nothing's gonna change right now. You know how you set this up, and he's worried. He's like, well, Andor is the tie to us, so her line is very foreshadowing. Where tomorrow it'll all be over, like it'll be over for them, could be over for us. We got to prepare, but he's also like, or it could just be the start, like the beginning of it all. Like, damn, it was just such a good way to end this episode. Like, damn, I wish I could have seen shit happen tonight, but unfortunately not.
I mean, and again, it does a great job of building up the tension for the heist next week, because Luthen, as we've seen him in these last few episodes, he's very like, he's got it all together. Like he knows his way in, he knows his way out. Like he's very measured and composed, and every move like from him seems to be very calculated. And for him to be like nervously sitting by this comm thing, it's like, again, like we're seeing this character who we've seen like have it all figured out, and then now he's here sitting like worried about how this mission is going to go. And as an audience, it makes us worried too. So a great note to leave it on, like you said, to sort of like lead into next week's episode. Like we're just waiting with anticipation, just like he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I was just like, God damn it, I gotta wait another week for this shit. I need to see this. I need to know what happens. But again, I think so. I mean, I think this is my favorite episode so far. I'm really digging it. I love the dialogue, because if there's not a lot of action in something, as long as the dialogue is really good, then I'm all on board with it. So, anything else popped out at you this episode that maybe could have hinted at something bigger or anything like that?
I mean, just a couple like really like small things. They didn't spend too much time with them at all, but the quick little scene of Deidre, back at the ISB headquarters, where she's starting to put the pieces together, and the way like she's sort of like thinking about these things is sort of in like a Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards like type of thing. Like she's like, if I were to be a rebel, like, or in the rebellion, this is how I would go about doing these things, and like how she would like put everything all spread apart so there wouldn't seem like there's a connection. So she seems to be very intuitive in that sense. So I'm sure she's gonna like play like a bigger role or a bigger antagonist as she seems to crack down on this like rebellion and presumably climb the ladder, because that seems to be like a recurring theme within the Empire and then these corporals. It's like all these characters are sort of just like trying to find ways to climb up the corporate ladder essentially. So them like it's like a whole Game of Thrones type of thing. They don't care who they step over to get on that seat. So I thought that was a little interesting detail over on that, and I don't know what you thought about that.
Again, she is smart though, and then her assistant's really smart too. With the whole "it's too random to be random," and it's like, God damn, that is a fair point. It's like all this stuff, especially with the call to Jakku, which was from The Force Awakens, is just, yeah, she's definitely a force to be reckoned with so far. And I think that's the I forgot, like the council leader, like the Empire guy, the Grand Maester from Game of Thrones. The fact that him and the guy who's in charge of Aldhani, the fact that they're, or not Aldhani, but is it Aldhani? Ferrex? Yeah, Ferrex. Yeah, that guy. Those two of them looking over her is, I think they're going to be a downfall for all of them essentially. Even her, there's something going to happen with her, I feel like. So, but what else was that it, or was there? You said one more thing, right?
Yeah, and then there's just the last thing was with the mole inside the Empire, the lieutenant that's that's in charge of that base, where he's I like the way he went about sort of like getting a lesser staff on for that day, where he was like saying, oh, because you guys screwed up or whatever, I'm gonna have a full staff or whatever, and so to have it like the I guess the lesser crew that's gonna be present for the raid, when that happens, to have it come from their idea instead of from him. I just thought that was a really like cool little detail, how he was able to sort of manipulate the situation. So when the things do go down, they don't, like, the fingers don't get pointed back to him, and sort of like it shows that, yeah, okay, like this dude is for real, like he's not the one that's gonna like be the one to sort of screw the group over when they go into to rob the payroll next week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that guy. Just because he is a lieutenant in the Empire, he could be a double agent. But again, he could also just be a red herring. It's very tough to nail down who, because we only had so many little interactions with these guys right now. So, but that was some good call outs, Bern. I kind of overlooked those. I apologize, but but we covered all the bases, right? Are we good?
I think so. I think I think we've seen it all. We've seen all the prep work that they're doing. So man, like again, I'm really invested. I really can't wait to see what happens next week, and hopefully they make it.
I will say too, before we finish off, this is definitely setting another bar like Mando season 1 and 2 did. This is definitely one of the other best Star Wars show out there. It is a polar opposite because Mando's much more action and Western like. This is, spy, espionage, very, quiet and smooth. So I'm digging it. But guys, let us know in the comments. Are you liking this show so far? What did you think of this episode? We would love to know. Or even what else you want to see in this show. Any other Star Wars call-outs. We really appreciate it, guys. And, of course, we got more coming at you. We're going to do a big episode on Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, because I've been busy, so I apologize. And what else do we got going on? We got some crazy movies coming out this upcoming month. Black Adam especially is finally coming out after many delays and, hype essentially building up, sort of. So, stay tuned for those, guys. And as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of spooky things too coming up. We got that Werewolf by Night special, and the Hellraiser movie. That Hellraiser movie coming out this week too. So I mean, it's the month of October, so it'll be good to get into the spooky vibe of it all. But yeah, like he said, everybody. Until then, we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Yeah, and you guys heard it. He said he's gonna watch Hellraiser, scary or not. So we got this. We're ending on that. Goodbye.